Well, hello and a very warm welcome. This is Viewer Exclusive on Viewer Television. Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has presented his first full budget to the National Assembly for scrutiny and, of course, possible approval. Now, today we're going to be deliberating and giving our reviews on the budget. Does it really lead Nigerians into the renewed hope that was promised by the president during the campaigns and up till now? Well, I'll be asking an expert and we'll be analyzing this together right after the break. My name is Chinonso Chakwes. Join me again.
In this 21st century where all the information we need is now in the palm of our hands. News from around the world, entertainment, celebrity gossip, sports, and much more. The only thing that you need is the right source. Viewer TV is now on the go. Simply check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter for all the information you need.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. This is still Viewer Exclusive on Viewer Television. Well, today we'll be reviewing the budget for 2024. Does it really hold the renewed hope for Nigerians as was promised? And joining me now live in the studio is Mr. Ernest Ogwebo. He's an accountant and a business coach. Always glad to have you around, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for thank you for honoring this invite. All right, so let's go straight into it. The president has presented the budget of 27.5 trillion naira. To some, we should have aimed higher. For some, we should have, this is too huge. So what's your general assessment of these budgets, especially in terms of the priority points that were stated? It was sort of a 7-point agenda that was stated for the budget. What's your take?
Okay, thank you for having me. My overall assessment of the budget, looking at the key assumptions and all the rest, is just to say top line is that the budget is overly ambitious in terms of revenue. And in the face of the current realities, I think that the budget tends towards being unrealistic in its in what it's trying to achieve. Generally, that's what I would just sum it up on. But there are some improvement on the 2023 budget, because we are talking of budget now. We are not talking of actual. So this is just a plan. So looking at the plan for 2024 and the plan that we had for 2023, I say that there is a bit of improvement in certain areas, but generally speaking, my personal opinion is that the government made some overly ambitious assumptions especially in the area of revenue.
Of revenue. Okay, so when you're saying revenue now, it means we're talking about funding. We're overly ambitious when it comes to what will fund this budget, right? In terms of how we generate our revenue.
Yes, the over-ambition for me is about how much the government projects that they are going to earn in the year 2024.
Okay.
The government projects a revenue of 18 point something trillion as what they will earn. In 2023, as at September, the Minister of Finance has just told us that the government had earned about 8 trillion. So how much can this government earn between September now and December? Then you now jump from there to say you want to earn 18 trillion. That for me is where the over ambition comes in. In terms of the being unrealistic, I'm looking at the sectoral allocation and what they plan to even do with the money. I think that taking into account the realities where we are right now, there is supposed to be some bit of a shift in terms of priority for the government. Okay,
so talking about even priorities, because we'll go deep into funding and revenue generation and all of that. But about the 7 key areas with our present situation, will we say that the present government prioritize the needs? Especially because he talked about in the 7 key areas, there is much talk about investment. Right?
Yeah.
And there is, I don't know if investment, give me your expert analysis, if investment translates into production too, because I think that one of the major things we should be looking at is improved production in the country. Oil, private sector, all of that, but we're still talking investors. So help me understand, does investment directly or indirectly translate to more production happening within the country?
Yes, to answer your question straight, yes. The government is, the present government, the President Bola Tinubu's government has been saying and doing a lot when it comes to trying to drive investment. Okay, whether what they are doing is the right thing or it will yield the result is a different thing, but they have been talking so much about investment. Now, this investment will also lead to one of the priority areas that he talked about in the budget, job creation. When you are able to attract, whether it is foreign or domestic investment, chances are that those investments will create job. Okay. Those job you create will translate into another of the priority area, social security and stuff like that. That is what I see. So when the government talks about better investment environment, you can say that in the last few weeks, it has been all over the globe trying to push investment, even though I don't think that is the right way to go about it. If you put the right things in place in your house, investment will find you. Yeah. You don't need to go globetrotting looking for investment. Capital, as it were. He finds his level. He knows where to go. He looks for the best place to go. He doesn't respond to sentiment. He doesn't respond to political gimmicks and stuff like that. If your environment is right, even your so-called enemy will find a way to come and invest in you because the environment is right. So there are a few things that we do. So that for me is where talking about how realistic the budget is in the light of our current realities is where I looked at the issue of expenditures, priority areas, and how the whole budget have been allocated. And maybe as we move on, we can talk a little more about those. All
right. So let's quickly talk about the overall ambition of this administration for 8 years. They say they want to move to a $1 trillion economy in 8 years, and some quarters have argue that if you're saying you're going to move to that, then the budget of 27.5 billion naira as your first budget is nothing that will take us there. So it's that we should be aiming for more. Meanwhile, there's an argument. So is it now realistic? Should we begin to hope that, okay, we would get to the $1 trillion economy in 8 years, assuming that we give this government another 4 years after this tenure is over?
1 trillion naira economy is an impossibility based on where we are right now. It's just a manner of speaking. That's the way I see it. It's just that is part of the things they do, just to talk, because the reality on ground does not suggest we can go there. Do you know what this budget really is? The value 23 trillion. When we put it in naira, we call it trillion. This is just using one of the key assumptions of this budget is that exchange naira to dollar is 750 naira. Now, if you use that to look at this budget and convert it, 27 trillion is just giving you about $36 billion for 200 and something million Nigerians. 27.5 trillion, $36 billion. $36 billion. Where is it going to go? To put it in proper perspective, is just to say, just look at single companies all over the world, the Amazons, the Apples of this world, the Microsoft, and even all these X and all of them. What is their revenue in a year? In 2022, Apple made more than $220-something billion in revenue. Nigeria is projecting to make in revenue 18 trillion. If you use the realistic exchange rate, maybe we say 18 billion. But if you use the government rate, maybe we're talking of $24-25 billion. That's all you are projecting to earn in the year. So that is not going to give you a 1 trillion naira economy, in 8 years, even if we were to look at that. But it is saying that yes, you can have that ahead of you. What are you doing to get there? That should be what we are saying. When President Yar'Adua came on in 2007 and said he was looking at the 2020 vision, Nigeria to become one of the top 20 economies by the year 2020. That was a vision. And what did we put on ground? That would be the next thing, and all of that. 2020 have come, it has passed. Are we now part of the G20? No. But did we move from where we were? That would be what we should be looking at. So to put a 1 trillion naira economy in front of us, fine. Even in this budget, what did we put that will move us there to that goal?
So it's okay to be comforted that we will get somewhere, but Nigerians should not put their hopes that we are going to get to a $1 trillion economy in 8 years.
I don't see how that even
how that happens realistically. It's not happening. Okay, the budget was also pegged at, like you said, 750 naira to $1.
Yes.
And of course, inflation rate of 21.4%.
Yes.
In that next year, is that also something realistic?
What is our current inflation rate? It's at 27.3 or thereabout. Now the government wants to achieve 21% by the end of 2024. Fine, I don't have issue with that. What is on ground? What is the plan to achieve that? Inflation simply talks about the increase in prices of goods and services and all of that. Now, what is on ground? What is the provision in this budget to help bring that rate of increase of prices down. That will bring us and give us the 21.5 3.5 or inflation target. I don't know yet. I haven't seen it. The president did not say it. The minister have not given us that breakdown to know. So because we want to see what are you planning to do. Like Mr. Bismarck Rewani was saying yesterday also, at the end of the day, what matters to the average Nigerian is not all these figures we are throwing around. It is how it affects the price of bread and rice. So if we throw around these figures, and we are in a society where we celebrate just about anything, all is in the name of psychophancy or whatever. Just because somebody have read a budget of 27 trillion, somebody can go to town and celebrate and say, we have the biggest budget ever. That's an achievement. It shouldn't be what we are celebrating. We should be celebrating what we achieve implementing that budget. So
in essence now, even we're celebrating a huge budget, but in essence, in terms of value of the budget, in quantity it may seem large, but in terms of value, looking at exchange rate and all, have we done better in our budget?
Yes, there are some bit of areas, for example, where I think we have done a little better in terms of improvement. If that's the question you are asking. This team presently, for example, has the ambition, as stated in this budget, to grow revenue to 18.2 trillion, like I was saying, from the projection for 2023 was 11.5, which we are saying that we don't know how we can achieve that, whether we'll get there. So they want to move it now from that 11.5 to 18.2. That is okay. That is like a 65% increase in revenue.
Okay.
We need to see the plans on how to get that revenue.
Exactly.
Debt to revenue ratio. The debt being the budget is proposing a debt to equity to revenue ratio of 43.5%. Total money we want to spend on debt servicing, just like 43 point something percent of the total revenue we get. That is an improvement on the more than 70% debt to revenue ratio for 2023. Then we also saw an improvement in allocation for capital expenditure. Yes, capital expenditure increased by about 19% over the allocation from 2023 budget. And of course, there's also a improvement in the projected deficit of they are looking at about 3.8% deficit to GDP as against about 6 point something percent the 2023 budget. So those are a few of the improvements. As putting them on paper, we await the implementation so that when we are reviewing the performance of the budget at the end of the year, we see whether these projections actually came to
all right, so let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking about implementation of this budget, because that's what's most important, no matter how little or how big the budget it is, budget implementation. Join me again right after the break. Welcome back. You're still watching Viewer Exclusive on Viewer Television, and still with me in the studio is Mr. Ernest Ogbegbo. All right, so before we went we were talking about implementation of the budget, because that is where it makes sense to Nigerians. But before we go there, let's give us a sense of the sectoral allocation and what your take is on the, the flow and the division of things in the budget.
Okay. It's interesting because actually that is where like they say, the devil is in the details. Really, 27 trillion. It will be interesting now to look at it and say how has this 27 trillion naira be allocated to 200 million people. So that's the thing. But look at the other side first. Like I mentioned, out of the 27 trillion,
yes,
the government projects to earn about 18 trillion. The 9 trillion will be borrowed to finance this budget. Okay. So there's a deficit of about 9.2% of the budget. Now, to finance that, we'll come to how they plan to finance that. But on the other side is allocation. No surprises that defense should get 3.2 trillion, which is about 12% of the budget. Over the last many years, we've seen defense take the lion's share of the budget. Whether we are getting value for that is a different thing entirely. But the reality we have on ground is that we cannot afford not to give attention to defense, which will include your police, the army, and all the other things. Education got 7.9% of the budget. Now, and that is allocated between the Ministry of Education and its agencies, the Universal Basic Education, the Tertiary Education Fund. They all got their own allocations from just that 2.18 trillion that went to education, about 7.9%. Health got 5% of the budget, 1.3 trillion. Again, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Health and all the agencies under it. Then we have the primary health care getting something out of it. Infrastructure got 5%. So this is where I'm talking about how realistic, how does it address our current realities. The entire 27 trillion naira will not even be enough for infrastructure to finance our
27.
Of course, our infrastructure deficit is way more than that. But to see that, looking at our reality, that infrastructure, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Aviation, Ministry of Transport, all of them are what is put together under this infrastructure, and they got just 5%, 1.3 trillion. And of course, another major one is the Social Development and Poverty Reduction Program, which got 2%, which is about 530-something billion naira from the budget. That is the major sectors that got that were allocated from. So that's where my assessment of the reality on ground. Look at the social investment program. I think in that social investment program is about 50 billion or so for student loan, and I don't know whether that should be a capital expenditure or a recurrent expenditure. If it is a loan, there's supposed to be repayment and all of that coming back. There's supposed to be some bit of interest on top of it. I don't know how that program is designed to work. It may just go the way many other government intervention programs have gone. They give to people and they never pay back.
It's a non-interest loan.
If it's non-interest, it means that over time, this money is
It's
coming
not-
back.
yes.
As accountants, we don't write this off as an expenditure. It's supposed to be like an investment. It will come back and other people will get it and stuff like that. So that in reality is just the sectoral allocation as it is right there. Okay. Something President Tinubu also mentioned. I'm not sure a lot of people have paid attention. As a business person,
Yes, sir.
I will give that some attention. Government plans to earn increased revenue from taxation, from taxes, up to the tune of 10.4 trillion. When you hear that, what does it mean? What is the plan? I don't know. Between Federal Inland Revenue Service, the custom, and all the other tax collection agencies, how we must begin to interrogate these matters as far as this budget is concerned. Because what would that mean? Will it mean additional tax burden on those who are paying? Will it mean bringing more people into the tax net? Because for government to earn from tax, you have to collect it from people, now.
Yeah.
So we need to know what all of this mean. Does it mean an increase in tax rate? Are we going to see all of that? Or is just going to be bring more people in so that the tax revenue will go up? All those are some of the
So let's
key
let's lean a little bit on that, because taxation in Nigeria is one issue that people are concerned about. Tax is one of the ways that our budget is going to be funded.
Yes.
Tax, internal generated revenue tax is one of the ways. So in your view now, what should the government do? Because if we continue to increase taxation on companies and those who are already within the tax net, this would increase prices of things. It will affect inflation either way or not, I'm assuming. So what are you recommending? Is it increasing the net of people who are paying? Because most of Nigerians, I don't think, when we come out and call ourselves taxpayers' money, a lot of us are not loyal to tax payments. So what's your recommendation in terms of that? And then it's no surprise President Tinubu has thrived on taxation in Lagos and he has seen it work. So
Yes. So as a tax practitioner myself, I'm concerned about tax. I operate in that sector. So my straight recommendation would be, one, get more people into the tax net. The government should look for a way to get, like you rightly said, not many people are paying their due taxes in Nigeria. So many people are outside of the tax net. So we must find a way to bring them in. Second, there are a lot of things that people, small business owners, are burdened with that they really have no business with, that affects the taxes they are paying. So if you have to provide yourself road, you have to provide electricity, you are spending
water,
a lot. At the end of the day, the profit, government can only tax profit. The profit you have available is small for government to tax. So if government spend money on those infrastructure to assist these businesses, it means that those businesses will be making more profit, which again comes back to the government as more taxes. It's just a cycle like that. Unfortunately, what we find is government wanting to take from the people, from business owners, without first putting in. So there had to be that putting in. Putting in is what do I need to do to get these people to make more money,
so they can bring in.
If I save 10 million on power alone in a year, that automatically makes 10 million available as profit to be taxed.
All right, so quickly, let's begin to round up because we're running out of time. So briefly, in terms of implementation, let's also not be overly ambitious. What percentage implementation will we say that we have tried if in this 2024 we're able to achieve?
Okay, see, Now, the truth of the matter is, if you look at how this budget has been allocated, for example, okay, we are saying that about 8.5 trillion, sorry, let me get the figure correctly, so about 8, I'm trying to see how that 27 billion have been allocated between capital expenditures and the rest. Non-debt current expenses, not debt current, is 37% of the budget. Debt service, like we said before, is 30%. There is a sinking fund, which is about 0.8 or 0.9%. Then capital expenditure 8.7. Talking of implementation, I can assure you that the 30% for debt service will be fully implemented. The 37% non-debt recurrent expenditure will go, because those are the areas of our priority. That's where we like to spend.
Yeah, we like.
But what will suffer will be that remaining 31%, which is the capital expenditure, which is what is supposed to add to us as a people. So if I see a 60-70% performance implementation of this budget at the end of the year,
we have done well. We have done well.
Just keeping ourselves afloat where we are.
All right. It's always very insightful to have you around and to give your great analysis on this matter. Thank you so much, Mr. Ernest Ogwego, for coming around. And that's all we can take on Viewer Exclusive for this week. Many thanks for sticking with us till the end of it. On behalf of myself and the entire crew, have a lovely day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.